Today we're joined by Sam Gonzalez, who's in Chicago, Illinois. He is the former deputy director for Organizing Corps 2020 that recruits and trains campaign staff and campaign organizers. He also was the finance manager for my labor commissioner race, and before that worked at the University of Chicago with David Axelrod. So Sam, welcome to my kitchen and to talk about what's cooking.
So thanks so much for having me on, Val. It's good to see you again and to catch up a little bit. So yeah, I would love to share a little bit about organizing Core 2020 and what we were doing to help train field organizers for the eventual Democratic nominee, who is now Joe Biden. So a little bit about the project and what we were doing. So it was really a program run in partnership with the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, and state parties in different battleground states. And our mission was to train 1,000 field organizers for the eventual Democratic nominee. So why are we training field organizers, and why do we need these folks on the ground? So what we really looked, we looked at 2016, we looked at 2018, and what people saw was these were incredibly close races, right? They were won. Even Hillary Clinton's 2016 race was really close in a lot of different states, especially states like Michigan and Wisconsin. And in 2018, races were even closer. So when races are won by 1 or 2 points, those are really what you call field margins, and those are the places where your field organizer is going to make the difference, not necessarily more TV or more mail. It's the person who's coming to your door, knocking, texting you, calling you, reminding you to turn out to vote. So what our founders did with the program is they said they looked at the primary schedule, and they said, our primary candidates all, back when there were it seemed like 100 of them, they're all going to spend all their time in Iowa, right? They're not going to spend any of their time organizing in critical states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Florida. So they looked at that, and they also looked at our bench, and they said, we don't have a lot of folks who are ready just to take up these roles, to be organizers in their communities, because as a party, we haven't necessarily always done the best job of training folks to work on campaigns, to be field organizers. So we started Organizing Core 2020 with a mission to help start that early organizing work in battleground states, as well as help train the next generation of field organizers and campaign staff that are local, that look like the communities that they come from, and that are going to be, running campaigns and running for office someday. So we just wrapped up the project. We were working in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Arizona, as well as Minnesota. And so these are all going to be critical battleground states in the presidential this year, as you know, and they're also places where we have critical Senate races and could also flip some state legislatures. So we just wrapped up, trained over 1,000 young people from all across these states. Really proud of the group that we had put together. We trained them on the fundamentals of being an organizer, and now hundreds of them are now back already in their communities, working remotely to organize and help turn out folks for Joe Biden in races up and down the ticket.
That's fantastic, because programs like this allow people to work in the communities that they come from. I know that on a lot of federal races and presidential races that I've worked on or supported, they fly people in from somewhere else that don't really understand the dynamics on the ground or the community on the ground. And then when they leave, they take all those resources, whether it's, the people they brought in or any other resources with them. So I think this is important. And the other focus, as you mentioned, is to get people that wouldn't ordinarily be able to be connected with politics, because it's for so long been politics has been for the people that are already there, that bring people in that look like them, that are related to them, that they know, and it's people that can afford to volunteer for campaigns. Now, this was a paid project and also outreach to have a more diverse bench of field campaign managers, right?
Yeah. So when we looked at what was really going to be needed, we knew we were going to want to focus on hyper-local, hyper-diverse talent, right? So of the 1,000 people that we ended up training, over 50% of them ended up being people of color. Over 70% of them were from, over 80% of them were from their home community. So they look like the folks they're going to be talking to. They're going to be knocking on doors of their neighbors, or calling their neighbors now in this COVID campaign world that we're in. But that was really an intentional effort by the team, because like you mentioned, it's all about who you know in politics, and if you don't have someone who's willing to help open the door for you, and someone who's willing to help pay, these were positions that were paid, so making sure that everyone can access these roles, no matter if it's something that you can afford, or something that you even thought possible you could do. And this is also a pipeline for future leaders as well.
Right. And I think that's the key. I found that as majority leader, when I would recruit candidates, the best candidates and many times the best electeds were people who had previously worked on campaigns, because they understood what went into running a winning campaign, and they also understood their community. So if we want to have elected officials that look like our communities, then we need to be recruiting people from those communities to work on campaigns. And again, having paid work as opposed to expecting people to volunteer their time is a critical piece of that. I think another critical thing in working on campaigns is making sure that you have the energy to work those long hours. And a good way to start a day is a good breakfast. And you're going to share with us a recipe for breakfast.
Yes. So I wanted to when you said, bring a recipe, this is what's cooking. I immediately thought about this buttermilk pancake recipe that I have just been really excited about. And when you think about pancakes, you're like, oh, that's it's that powder that comes from in a box. But no, these are homemade buttermilk pancakes. And what is buttermilk? I don't know. It's kind of really gross on its own, but you put it in pancakes and it becomes this really delicious thing. And it's really easy. It's ingredients that you have in your pantry. Just some flour, some sugar, baking powder, baking soda, salt, a couple eggs, and some butter, and of course, buttermilk as well. So it's really easy, mixing all those dry ingredients in there, a little bit of egg, some melted butter, put that buttermilk in there, mix it all together. And the key is having a really well seasoned cast iron pan. So you got to make sure that thing is heated nice and warm. Put a little oil in there, throw your batter on there, and wait till they start bubbling. That's also another important point, and then you can go ahead and flip them over. But the key is that nicely seasoned cast iron skillet.
Yeah, I believe that is one of the most critical tools that anybody can have in the kitchen is a cast iron pan, and having it. It takes a long time to get seasoned well, but when it is, man, there's just nothing better.
Yeah, I have one that's almost 80 years old. It was my great grandma's. So, there's 80 years of beautiful seasoning on there that just makes these pancakes really something special.
That sounds amazing. Well, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and for sharing with everyone about the work that's happening on the ground in these battleground states. And again, how critical it is to be recruiting people to work on campaigns that come from the communities that you're working in. So with that, thanks, Sam. Really appreciate your time, and great to see you again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It was really great to catch up and share a little bit more about campaigns and pancakes.
Want to see more What's Cooking with Val? Make sure to subscribe to our page by clicking the link.